Hello, everyone. My name is Rodney. Welcome to Shedskin Ideas. On Shedskin Ideas, I discuss ideas of game mechanics and features, my own original ideas for either games that currently exist or my own original ideas. This slideshow is about an idea for Tekken, but can also be applied to other fighting games as well. The reason why I prefer Tekken or chose Tekken for this particular idea is because I believe that they have the greatest potential. Um, just the quality of work, the reputation, the history, and the style of its work. Also, there are many ways I would do these ideas for other games such as Marvel versus Capcom or even Street Fighters. But I feel that these ideas that I have fit much better for Tekken. And yeah, so let's get into it. So the idea is Tekken Dojo Ascension. So the fighting game concept. For decades, fighting games have built some of the most passionate communities in gaming. Games like Tekken are known for their deep combat systems, skill based gameplay, and the satisfaction that comes from mastering complex techniques. But one challenge has always existed for players entering the genre: the learning curve. Many characters have dozens, sometimes hundreds, of possible moves, and new players are expected to memorize these techniques largely on their own. Practice modes exist, but they often feel isolated and disconnected from real gameplay. So, this concept asks a simple question: what if fighting games taught players the way martial arts are actually taught? Instead of learning alone in practice mode, players would learn inside a dojo. This concept is called Tekken Dojo Ascension. In this system, players create their own fighter and choose a martial arts clan or fighting style. Each clan represents a different combat philosophy inspired by the style seen throughout the Tekken universe. Once a style is chosen, players begin their journey inside an online dojo. Unlike traditional tutorials, the dojo is a shared environment where players train together under the guidance of a master. Students stand in formation while the sensei demonstrates techniques. Each lesson is structured like a martial arts curriculum, broken into chapters and drills. Before class begins, players open a lesson menu similar to selecting missions in other games. Each chapter teaches a different part of the fighting style. For example, one lesson might focus on defensive techniques like blocking and counters. Another lesson introduces striking combinations. Later lessons combine these elements into full combo sequences. If a dojo contains 30 lessons, players immediately understand the scope of their training before they are ready to challenge the master. This structure gives players something fighting games rarely provide: a clear training path. Instead of wondering what to practice next, players simply move to the next lesson. During drills, the master assigns a sequence of inputs, similar to performing a combo. These sequences represent real techniques used in combat. Every student attempts the sequence at the same time while standing in formation inside the dojo. Players are graded on accuracy. If a player performs most of the sequences correctly but misses one input, only that mistake reduces their score. But mistakes also carry consequences. During training drills, assistant instructors walk through the dojo observing the students. If a player performs the sequence incorrectly, an assistant immediately steps in and delivers a quick punishment strike, such as a punch or a kick. This strike reduces the player's lesson's health. The class does not stop and the student is not moved to the front. Training continues while the assistant disciplines mistakes directly where they happen. The goal of each lesson is to complete the training sequence before the player's health reaches zero. If their health is depleted, they must restart that lesson. This system creates clear visual feedback. Instead of simply seeing an error message, players immediately understand that their timing or input was incorrect. It also creates a natural separation of skill level. At the beginning of training, lessons are forgiving enough that beginners and experienced players can progress together. But as lessons become more advanced, mistakes begin to accumulate. Students who execute the sequences correctly stay ahead, while those who struggle fall behind and repeat the lessons. This creates a natural learning curve where players improve through repetition and discipline. But the dojo does more than teach techniques. The master is supported by three assistant instructors. You specialize in oh, the master is supported by three assistant instructors who specialize in the dojo's fighting style while also understanding techniques from nearby clans. These assistants demonstrate how techniques work and eventually serve as combat opponents. Before graduating from the dojo, players must complete a combat trial. This trial may involve defeating the three assistant instructors or facing a combination of assistants and other students. Winning these matches prove that the player can apply their training in real combat. Once the trial is completed, the player faces the sensei. Defeating the sensei represents graduation from the dojo and unlocks access to the wider world. After graduation, players enter exploration districts. These districts function as contained combat zones where players encounter NPC fighters and other online players from different clans. When fighters meet, a battle begins. To leave a district and progress further, players must win at least 3 fights. Victories reward player with in-game currency that can be spent at shops located within the district or clan's dojo. These shops sell customization items such as gloves, boots, masks, belts, and other cosmetic equipment. These items allow players to personalize their fighter and visually represent their progress. Exploration also allows players to discover new fighting styles. If a player wants to join another dojo, they must first defeat 3 fighters who use that dojo's signature style. These fighters may be NPC opponents found in the district or other players encountered during exploration. Once those victories are achieved, the player can return to the dojo and request membership. The dojo recognizes their accomplishments and allows them to begin training in the new style. Dojos also serve as safe hubs where players can save their progress, socialize with other students, and continue practicing their techniques. Even after graduation, players can challenge the assistant instructor and master again. Each time they are defeated, the difficulty increases. The next encounter becomes more challenging, gradually revealing the true strength of the master and assistants. Each win rewarding you with a new colored belt. This system reinforces an important philosophy. Victory in training does not mean mastery. True mastery comes from repetition, humility, and experience. Players can continue refining their skills inside the dojo before returning to the world to face stronger opponents. Exploration mode, territories, and progression. After graduating from a dojo, players gain access to exploration mode, where the world of the game begins to open up. Instead of remaining inside training halls, fighters travel across different territories throughout the world. These territories represent distinct regions with their own environment, fighting culture, and hidden encounters. While some territories may resemble city districts, exploration quickly expands beyond urban settings. Players may travel through coastal beaches, mountain temples, forests, industrial complexes, underground arenas, or other locations tied to the martial arts world. Each territory functions as its own contained exploration zone. When players enter a territory, they can freely move through the environment, searching for opponents, discovering items, and locating points of interest. Throughout the area, players may find equipment or collectible items placed around the environment. These items can be picked up and added to the player's inventory. Exploration rewards curiosity. Players might discover gloves, masks, belts, or other cosmetic items that allow them to customize their fighter's appearance. Curiosity killed the cat. The longer you explore in a zone, the greater the chance you will come across other players. Losing in a fight takes you back to your dojo in bandages. Some territories may also contain shops where players can spend the currency they've earned through victories to purchase additional gear and equipment. But exploration is not only about collecting items. Instead, within certain locations are special encounter zones where powerful fighters can appear. These locations act as points of interest where players encounter legendary characters such as Jin, Yoshimitsu, Paul, or Hiyachi. When discovered, these encounters trigger a boss battle. Defeating these fighters unlock important rewards. The character becomes available as a playable fighter, as playable fighters, and the location where the battle occurred become a selectable arena for multiplayer matches. But there is also a deeper reward system tied to fighting styles. If a player defeats a legendary fighter using a specific fighting style, they may unlock a unique cosmetic reward tied to that style and that character. For example, defeating a certain boss while using one style may unlock a special armor piece, mask, or effect or cosmetic item inspired by that encounter. Defeating the same boss with different fighting styles could unlock an entirely different reward. This encourages players to explore every corner of the world in search of hidden masters and new battle stages. Revisit these encounters with different styles to unlock new customization items. Movement between territories is tied directly to combat. To travel from one territory to another, players must win 3 fights within the current area. These victories act as the energy required to move forward across the world map. Once 3 fights have been won, the player can choose a direction of travel. They may move north, south, east, or west, each direction leading to a new territory. Traveling to a new territory loads a completely different environment, similar to how entering a dungeon loads a new location in an open world RPG. However, moving between territories consume those victories. For example, if a player wins 3 fights and chooses to travel north, those victories are used to enter the region. If the player later wants to return south, they must once again win 3 fights before traveling back. This system keeps exploration connected to combat and prevents players from instantly traveling between regions. It also encourages players to stay within each territory long enough to fully explore the environment, discover items, and challenge the fighters who live there. Over time, players gradually travel across many different regions of the world, uncovering hidden masters, collecting equipment, and unlocking new arenas. Exploration becomes more than simply wandering through maps. It becomes a martial arts journey across the world. Regular versus hardcore mode. The exploration experience changes depending on the difficulty mode selected by the player. In regular mode, fights follow the traditional fighting game format of the best of 3 rounds. This allows players to recover from mistakes during a match and gives newer players a more forgiving experience while learning the system. If a player loses a match during exploration, they are returned to the dojo associated with the fighting style that defeated them. This can sometimes introduce players to new dojos and new fighting styles, creating opportunities to learn additional techniques and expand their training. Regular mode, therefore, emphasizes learning, discovery, and gradual progression across the world. In hardcore mode, exploration becomes more dangerous. Instead of best of 3 rounds, fights are decided in a single round. One loss immediately ends the encounter. If a player loses a fight while exploring, they are returned to their home dojo, even if they had traveled far across the world. This means players must fight their way back through territories again. Training in the nearest dojo secures your place and prevents exploration progress loss. Hardcore mode also introduces additional consequences for defeat. If an opponent wins with a perfect victory, meaning the player dealt no damage during the fight, the player loses 1 belt rank in their dojo. To regain that belt, they must return to their dojo and defeat their master again. This system creates higher stake experiences where exploration, combat, and mastery carry real consequences. Regular mode offers accessibility and learning, and hardcore mode offers risk, discipline, and prestige. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I'll answer you or give any additional information that you may be curious of knowing. Also, please share with a friend who is a game developer, a gamer, or a Tekken fan. I would love to hear all y'all's opinion. Thank you very much for listening. This is Tekken Dojo Ascensions, and I am Rodney with Shedskin Ideas. Have a great day.